In our current unit, we are learning how to compose music using software and technology, and we're going to learn the process that composers go through to write music. We're doing a very simplified version of a composition, but every student is doing their own. You started off with writing a 4-beat melody onto whiteboards and then playing through them on your recorder, and that was to make sure that you wrote a composition or a melody that you could also play and that others could successfully play. It's easy to choose notes at random, but we have to make sure that the notes we choose at random are playable by musicians, and so we selected those. So I'm going to take that information and now digitize it by putting it into Noteflight.com. So first, with Noteflight.com, if you've not already done so, you need to join. You can sign up using Google or Facebook, but most of you, of course, have done this already. But just to make sure for those who haven't yet, we're using an email address. I'm going to use my school email, and that's what I recommend, or any email that you can access and get the code from. You're going to tell it that you're not a robot because, well, you're not, and sign me up. And then you'll be getting an email at that account that you need to check. So I'm going to come over to my email icon and just make sure that I get that email. And there it is. And it says activate account. So we're going to activate the account. And create a username. I'm just going to make a generic one. I will be deleting this so that you all can't log in. But I'm going to make my username Fluffy Music Teacher. And I'll create a password. Well, you're getting all my messages. Maybe I should have turned those off, all this personal stuff I'm reading through. Anyway, I'm going to click I'm a student, as should you, and we're writing or arranging music. These parts here that tell us a little bit about yourself isn't really necessary, but the part that is necessary is your username and password. You must remember those. So you can make this part up, but I'm going to go ahead and be honest. My main instrument is piano. And as a composer, I would say I'm intermediate, and as a performer, I would call myself advanced, not to brag, but I don't have to. But I'm going to get started. I'm not going to worry about saving that password because this is just a demonstration website. I already have my own personal account. Anyway, your page is going to look like this. And you're going to create a new score, and it's going to give you some options here. You're going to start from a blank score sheet. And it's going to look like this with all these editing features and toolbars up above. Okay? First and foremost, know where your save button is. And that's the most important part. Also, I'm going to click on this button that says keyboard. If you're using a laptop, this will be hidden until you click that. And you can type notes in using the piano keyboard. You'll need to use the resources in the classroom to know where the notes are if you don't already. But on the iPad, this will automatically appear. You can hide it, but using the keyboard is the only way that you can put notes into the system, whereas on a laptop you can use your mouse. So I'm going to extend my screen here so that I can, so you can see everything. But first and foremost, we're going to give it a title. I asked you to give it a title with you and your partner's name. So I'm going to put mine and my partner's name, Mr. and Mrs. C. And since I'm doing the work, I'm going to put Mr. C in the composer field. And I'm going to say that my class is 5KW. I would like that to be your subtitle. You can leave the lyricist out because we didn't do any lyrics. I've also asked that you change the tempo to 86. That'll make it more of a walking speed. Oops, not there. This is here. Oh. And that's the nice part about this demo, as you see all the mistakes. It's a learning curve to get through this. And that's fine. It'll frustrate you at times. It does me. But over time, you'll get better at it, and you'll see it's pretty cool to work with this program, especially that it's free. Also, another important thing is this toolbar over here. You're going to see there's all these toolbars that you can throw up into the editing bar. and sometimes they accidentally get closed, but this is where you find it. But I'm going to open up this one that says Edit and put it on the toolbar because I'm going to be using the undo quite a bit, and the cut and the delete, I'm sure, as I make mistakes. But right here it says Measures. You're going to highlight the measures that you don't want and delete them. We're only doing one measure of music with 4 beats. And now we're ready to begin. Again, save frequently so you don't have to start your work over again. I'm going to close the menu bar, but I'm going to come up to Instruments. This is the first part that we did in class together. I'm going to add the flute, which is a woodwind instrument, and delete the piano over here. Okay, that way I have the single line. And now we're going to transfer the notes that you wrote on the whiteboard onto here. So I'm going to make up a melody that works well, that I could play on the recorder using the notes we've learned. Very simple melody. And I'm just going to place them on the staff like this. But I don't want that to be a quarter note. I want an eighth note instead. So I'm going to change my duration up here. And notice that it changes what is highlighted as orange. And my last note, nope, I want that to be an eighth note. I'm going to put my last note in here. And there I have my 4 beats. I'm going to save and play it. So in class we did a little exercise on understanding keys and chords, and using the resources that are in the classroom, you can then choose which chords are going to play along with this. So if this was written for recorder, for instance, and we pulled out the ukuleles, we'd need to know which chords would sound good with these notes. So this note is G. I'm going to highlight the G and come up here to the text menu bar and click on the A7. That's the chord symbol, and it's going to put this dialog box above. And my choices of the chords that we had written on the board are G, D, or C. A G chord can be used with a G. That one's pretty obvious, but so can a C chord. And just for the sake of making it easy, I'm going to call it a G chord. Then I'm going to click and highlight the next note, and that needs a chord to play with it. We have G, D, and C again. The only one that can play a B in it is a G chord. So I don't need to type the G again because it's already playing. Musicians will know to play the same chord until they are told to change. So you can leave it blank. You can put it in again, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it blank and move to the one that changes. This is a C. Again, my choices are a G major, D major, or C major chord. And I'm going to choose C major for C because it's actually the only one that can work of those choices. So I'm going to use C, and since I have 2 C's in a row, I don't need to change chord. And now I have a D. A D can be found in both D major and G major. And I can add variety and make it D, but I'm going to just go back to G to make it sound pretty simple. I'm going to click on Save, and then I can play back. And I can see now that this is going to print above these notes. And this would tell your guitar player, your ukulele player, or piano player, or any player for that matter, what chords to play while this melody is playing here. Alright, that was the first part of the project. Or actually, writing the melody was the first part. Now putting it into this computer program would be part 2. The next part is orchestrating it. That's going to be part 3. This is where it gets a little tough, but it's actually really cool. You're going to come up to Instruments, and we're going to start by adding a guitar so we can see what the chords look like. Guitar is under plucked strings, and we're going to add guitar. And what we're going to do is we're going to now come through and add the notes of the chord. Remember, these are written on the whiteboard in the classroom for your reference. But a G chord consists of G, B, and a D. Now on the iPad you're going to have to play those on the keyboard, which means you have to strike all 3 notes at once. And that might be a headache if you're brand new to the keyboard, but I recommend just try it. Use the undo button if it's a mistake. Keep going back. Undo if you need to. Now, since this G chord is going to last for beats 1 and 2, I can change the duration of this to a half note, and it makes it play underneath those two. Now for a C chord, I'm going to place a C, and I need it to be a quarter note, a C, an E, and a G. And now I'm on to my final one, which is a G again. So G, B, and D. It's not always the easiest program to deal with, but again, it's free, and after you learn it for a while, it doesn't frustrate you so much. But here's the cool part. Now you can play it. And then we're going to now take these guitar chords and extract them. We have 3 notes in each chord, so we can extract them into 3 instruments. So we're going to start with the lowest note of each chord, the G, the C, and the G. And we're going to put that into a low instrument, and I'm suggesting to you to use double bass. And it'll put the double bass on there. And notice that the double bass is in bass clef. Again, use the resources in the classroom to help you read that. We haven't spent time in class learning the bass clef, but you can use those. You can find this information anywhere on where to find the notes on the staff, but you just need a G, a C, and a G on there, like if those are the chords you're using. And now as I put it together, I'm saving. I can play back, and with a good sound system, you'll hear that double bass come through, and that'll be nice. And that's the bottom note of each chord. Now I'm going to put the middle note of each chord in. You just got to be careful and make sure you read that correctly. I'm suggesting you put that in on the violin. I'd not choose viola if I were you, because that's going to give you an alto clef, which is a clef we have not used in class or learned, but it's kind of cool. It's always fun to learn new things. I'll just show you what it looks like, by the way. This is an alto clef. So we're not going to do that. We're going to stick to this treble clef. Now I'm taking the middle note from the guitar chords, and I'm going to place that in the violin. And the first note is a B. And we're changing that to the same rhythm as the guitar because that'll make life easier on this assignment, I should say. And there we go. That's the middle note. That's the B, the E, and the B. Okay, the violin part doesn't have much work to do, but now I'll save. Very nice. And now we have one more instrument we need to add, and that's going to be for the top note that's played in there. And I suggested you used woodwind. You really are going to get the choice. If you want to use a brass instrument, that's fine. I was choosing woodwind because I like the sound of it, but it doesn't matter. But I'm going to choose woodwind because there's a very important part. Because of the various lengths and sizes of instruments, they're not always going to be reading from the same key. So a clarinet, for instance, is going to play B flat. Sorry, when it plays its C, it's going to sound like a piano's B flat. So this is because of the different sizes of the instruments and how they're keyed and how they're made, and it makes it easier for these instrumentalists to read through music if we change the key. Well, we're not going to worry about that because we don't have a clarinet in our classroom, but we do have to worry about making sure that all of them play in the same key. We're going to stick to C. So any instrument, even if it's tenor sax, which is B flat, and alto, which is E flat, needs to change key. Flute is automatically in C, so that's pretty easy. Oboe is in C, and so is bassoon. But I'm going to put a clarinet in. I just need to make sure it is playing in the key of C. I'll click OK, and then I'm taking the top note and putting it in here. The first note is a D, change it to a half note, and a G, change it to a quarter note, and then to a D, and there I have it. All of the notes of the chord are now represented by a total of 5 instruments. If I take out the guitar, all of the notes of the chords are played somewhere with the symphony while the flute takes over the melody. So here's how the piece will sound. Okay, and what we're going to do in class is then print this and perform it. I'm going to get rid of this last measure because I don't need it, and close this, and there we have it. We're going to perform this, and we're going to transfer it to various instruments. We don't have flute and double bass in the classroom, but we'll be using things like recorder, ukulele. For the double bass, maybe a bass xylophone or some boom whackers, and these other parts will be, you'll get to make the choices. That's going to be the cool part. You can keep the instruments within the same family, like all boom whackers, or you can split it up like I just suggested, using various instruments in the room. But you and your partner are going to double up with another partner. You're going to put your two measures together for a total of 8 beats and play through it using the instruments that you choose. Okay? Now, that's what the final project is going to look like. So you're orchestrating, arranging music, you're performing it. It's a challenge. It's super cool at the same time. But the most important part, well, not the most important, but very important, is that you share this with me. So you are going to connect, and you are going to change that this score is not currently shared, and you're going to share it with everyone. And really, it's me who needs to see it. And you're going to save. And after you've saved, you're going to click this icon, which will have the link. So you're going to click on the link, copy it, and send it in an email to me. So I'm going to go to my email and create a new email and type in Mr. Crowther's email address, which is dcrowther@ris.ae. Subject, that doesn't matter. I'll call it music. But there's the link, and on its way. I hope you enjoy. Thanks.